Hello, record nerds of the internet. Vinyl Richie did a video on the ABCs of punk rock where he showed different punk records starting with all the letters of the alphabet. And I said, hey, I could do that. And so I'm going to do that. So let's do that.
A.M.
So we're going to start with A, because that's normally where the alphabet begins. And we're going to start off strong and hard with a chorus of disapproval. Eventually they would drop the A and then just be chorus of disapproval, which is probably better than a chorus of disapproval. This is the original pressing on Nemesis Records. It shows 4 guys, but I'm pretty sure that this record is just Isaac and Jeff Banks. They do a DYS cover, they do a Wire cover. Come on now. So this was like a militant straight edge band. This came out in 1991. And so it was sort of following the Vegan Reich Project X thing of being militant straight edge. And ironically, this was recorded by Brett Gurewitz of Bad Religion fame, who I think at the time was probably pretty whacked out of his mind on cocaine, namely crack cocaine. Chorus of disapproval. B, that comes after A, the Bopal Stiffs, EPA. This is on Roadkill Records. That was a label ran by Ben Weasel. And I've never opened this, but and it's got quite a bit of damage on it, unfortunately. But I know all the songs from this, and I've just never gotten around to listening to this. I've owned this for years. But let's talk about this band. If you've ever heard the band Pegboy, and if you haven't, why not? Because they're awesome. This is the singer from Pegboy. So imagine if Pegboy was more Minor Threat than Naked Raygun. That's what this would be. It's pretty good. I recommend checking this out. They put out a discography CD that's probably out of print and expensive. I don't think this is that expensive. It's not super cheap, but I don't think it's that expensive. C. Oh, jeez. Chronic Sick, the cutest band in hardcore. This was originally on Mother Records, which is worth thousands of dollars. This is a reissue on No Way Records, and this is worth tens of dollars. This is on black vinyl. There was another one on colored vinyl, I think. The first song is super offensive, but it's also good. So there's that. I'm sure if you look at the names of the songs, they're all really out there. So I think we take the first song with a grain of salt and assume that it's being ironic, because if not, yikes.
God damn, that was racist.
What comes after C? D. Oh, this was a band from New Jersey, by the way. And this is a band from Washington, D.C., or maybe Virginia. This is best known for a guy named David Grohl on drums. And this is sort of, if you're into that like 86 through 89 sort of DC emo thing, that's what this is on. This is on Fart Blossom Records, which I've discussed a time or two. And I think that's why I bought this. And then it turned out that David Grohl was a thing. So this is worth a lot of money. Mine doesn't have the insert. I'm not sure why, but that always bums me out. If you have a copy of that and you want to photocopy me an insert for it, that'd be cool. D.E. The Exploding Hearts. Guitar Romantic. I think this might be out of print. So this band has a really tragic story. Just as they were starting to take off, they got in a car wreck, and I think all but one of them died in the car wreck on tour. It was pretty sad. Honestly, that's probably the only reason why I heard of them, because that happened and everyone in punk rock was kind of sad about it, of course. But this record is great. Imagine like the Buzzcocks meets the Clash, but from US. It's pretty good. If you love punky power pop, you haven't heard that, which you probably already have, check that out. So we're on to G. E, no, we're not on to G. Where is my F? Where the F is my F? Hold on.
6.5 hours later.
I am back with my F record, The Forgotten Rebels. I know I've talked about The Forgotten Rebels on this channel before. This is, I think, their first full length. I don't know. So this was another band kind of maybe similar to Chronic Sick, where they're just an edgelord sort of band saying crazy stuff. These guys were from Hamilton, Ontario, which is pretty close to where I am. So this was always sort of a semi-local band to me. But they were good. They were a good band. They just said crazy shit. So back to this. Speaking of local bands, the Goo Goo Dolls. I was going to show this. This is the reissue that came with the box set. This was originally on some label called Mercenary that the Goo Goo Dolls got on because they won a Battle of the Bands contest in Buffalo. So they got to be on a shitty label.
Golf clap? Golf clap.
But I had it, and then when I bought the box set, so I can get the records that never came out on vinyl before, I sold it. And so now I have this one. But that's not what I want to show you, even though I just showed it to you, so I'm cheating. I want to go with Gashoffer, Janitors of Tomorrow. If you're not familiar with Gashoffer, and, you know, they might not be because they weren't the most well-known band, Gashoffer was sort of a punk rockabilly, sort of garagey, sort of surf punk band that the vocalist reminds me of like a Muppet. So that's crazy. And the cool thing about their vinyl records is, at least their LPs, is that if they came on vinyl, if you got it on vinyl, they would come with a comic book that I think all the guys in the band would draw. So this isn't my favorite album by Gashoffer. I would think maybe their next one is called Integrity Technology and Service. And I've never seen that on vinyl. Actually, I saw it once on vacation recently, and it didn't have the comic book, so I didn't buy it. EFGH. I've always wondered, can anyone just go through the list of letters in the alphabet? Like if you're like, oh, what comes after R, you immediately know like S comes after R. Or do you have to actually like sing the song, like back up a little bit in the song and sing it forward? Because that's what I have to do, and I think that means that I'm stupid.
Hey, moron! Duh!
Let me know below. The Hard-Ons. This is their self-titled record on Big Time Records. I don't think I have much to say about this, but, you know, that's pretty cool. This is the only 7-inch that I got, because I is hard. I have records where the band starts with I, but none of them are what I would call punk. I Hate You. 7 Inches of Hate. This is another militant straight edge band that supposedly it was all tongue-in-cheek. However, I happened to be at their very last show in Rochester, New York, where they hit a guy over the head with a baseball bat and there's blood all over. So that wasn't very tongue-in-cheek. But this band was good. Jay. And with Jay, we see the very worst cover of all time. I can't imagine a cover that's worse than this. This is quite possibly the worst cover ever made. This is a band called Jones Very and an album called Words and Days. And this came out on Hawker Records, which put out records from Token Entry and No for an Answer. And they put out this. And I don't know if you noticed, but you flip this over. So this is all the lyrics, because, like, why wouldn't you want to put the lyrics on the front of the record? Duh. Like, of course you do that. And then on the back, you actually have to flip it this way to continue. Like, what the fuck? I do not understand why this happened. Like, this is horrible. But the band, Jones Very, was the band that the singer from Articles of Faith started after Articles of Faith. And it basically continued the later era of Articles of Faith. So if you like that later era of, trying to think of the last Articles of Faith record, where they started going a little bit more DC emo, this kind of continues that. And it's good. It's really good. But the cover is really bad. And as you can see, it's a saw cut, because who wants to buy this piece of crap? No one. No one wants to buy that. JK. Kingface. This was put out by the band Kingface. Kingface was a band from Virginia, apparently. It says right there. Which is close enough to DC, I suppose. So close that it's produced by Ian Mackay at Inner Ear Studios. This, too, is in that sort of late 80s, sort of weird emo, like not good, like Rites of Spring emo, but like some of those other bands on Discord are like, who listens to the high back chairs or whatever? Sort of in that vein of weird. And so if you're like, this is a weird cover, yeah, this, I guess, is a misprint cover. Or like there's other covers where this is actually filled in. And then someone actually wrote Kingface. I don't know if you can see that. I assumed it was the band as they were selling them since they put this out. But this is also supposed to come with an insert, but mine does not have an insert. Not that I care. I think I found this in the wild for like $2 a long time ago. So, Kingface. L. Kingface to Leatherface. This is their Not Superstitious single. Although there's 3 songs on it, so is it really a single if there's 3 songs? Not Superstitious is a great song. If you've never heard, and then there's a Police cover. That Police cover rocks. If you've never heard Leatherface, they're an English band, and they're really good. And they kind of got popular after putting out a split record with Hot Water Music on BYO Records. And yeah. M. The Marshes. And you're probably like, who in the heck are the Marshes? So the Marshes were a band comprised of the singer from a band called Rumble Puppy, and then the guitar player from a band called Grave Goods, and the drummer from a band called Grave Goods, and he was also in a band you may have heard of called Dag Nasty. His name is Colin Sears. And so this record is awesome. It sounds like a hardcore or more hardcore version of Jawbreaker, if like Jawbreaker was a little bit more hardcore. Is that like more aggressive Jawbreaker? It's awesome. I don't know if you're going to find it. This was made in Germany. I don't know how many were pressed. I ordered this on Discogs from Germany, and I paid probably more than the record was selling for in shipping. But I love this record. I had it on CD. I might still have it on CD. I don't know. But that album is great. So back to Hawker Records, we have No for an Answer, Thought Crusade. don't understand why his face is so dark. That's always weird. That's always like scared me that he was having a heart attack or some problem, some blood flow issue. What do I have to say about no for an answer? Not much else. Who keeps texting me? Oh, my wife. LMNOP. For P, we will go to Pretty Girls Make Graves. This is their first EP. Most of their stuff is out of print. I don't know if this is. I sold most of their records because eventually, like at one point, they'd be going randomly for $100. So I'm like, I could use $100 and I don't need to listen to this Pretty Girls Make Graves record. And so I'd sell it. And I have this and one other one left, maybe two other ones. I don't know. But this one's pretty aggressive. This is like their most punk. They kind of go into more of a post-punk thing after this. But it's all good. I like it all. Female singer. She's great. So yeah, check out Pretty Girls Make Graves. I mean, the stuff is hard to find, but Q. Quicksand. Manic Compression. I lose a lot of people when I say I like Manic Compression more than I like Slip. And here's why. The first Quicksand 7-inch and this have similar production. And then the second one, they made it sound kind of like weird and metally, which I don't like. If Slip had this engineering and mastering that they did on Manic Compression, I think it would be a better album. But anyway, this has great songs. Like the song Landmine Spring is amazing, and also the song Thorn in My Side. And this is on Revelation Records. Even though this was a major label record, at the time, no one thought that records were worthy of pressing anymore, like the major labels. So Rev would get the rights to do it on vinyl, like All Pummel. That was a Rev release because Rev put it out. What else? This one, and then something else too that was kind of weird. But as you might be able to see, this is actually a stamped promo copy. I hope they don't want it back. But anyway, Quicksand, Manic Compression. Quicksand are making records again, and they're horrible. Just thought I'd throw that in there. R. Randy, Human Atom Bombs. Now this is a reissue. This label called La Agona de Vivir. Did I say that right? I don't know.
And we haven't been to school in days and days and days.
Probably not. They've been putting out their LPs. They did their, I can't think of it, the one before this, and then this one, and then I'm hoping that they do the one after this, which was called Welfare Problems, which is their best. And then the one after that was good as well, which was just called Randy, I think. That was on Fat Records. So they're probably not going to do that one. I wish Fat Records would do it on vinyl. That would be cool. I'd buy that. But Randy, Human Atom Bombs. Shades Apart, Dude Danger. This was a band that was sort of like maybe a pre-grunge band, if you think about it. They were from New Jersey. They would eventually end up on Rev, and then they would end up having kind of a hit that I would hear on the radio sometimes, which is really freaking bizarre. But this was, I think, their second release. Their first record was on Wishing Well. That's somewhat foreshadowing to another record coming. They did a really amazing Avengers cover on their first Rev record. So Shades Apart, Dude Danger. T, Torches to Rome. This is where I am right here. Boop. So this band was a band fronted by, at the time his name was Mike Kirsch, and then he transitioned to being Sarah Kirsch. She has passed, And this record still exists, and this record is amazing. A lot of the records that they were part of making were amazing. I don't think this ever came out on CD. I think it was vinyl only. But if you ever see this, grab it because it's awesome. We're up to you. And what are you going to go with other than uniform choice? There's only one choice. Uniform choice. Screaming for Change on Wishing Well Records. I think this has since been reissued by Southern Lord Records, maybe? If you've never heard this record, and even if you're not into straight edge, I think you'll probably like this record. I don't know, it's real good. There's a real goofy... Where is it? Is it the silence when they're silent? The stupid poetry reading thing, that's cringy. But this record, other than that cringe moment, is fantastic. Like, every song's a banger. And this is a newer reissue that I got. I say newer, but I probably got it 15 years ago. I had one before this, and that one had an insert. I bought this brand new. This was sealed when I bought it, and this one does not have an insert. So, buyer beware, I suppose. And I have no other... Like, this looks like that, so I don't know what other process you would use to tell the pressings apart, but I'm sure there must be some way other than not having an insert. Great record. Their album after this, horrible. Simply horrible. To V, A Verbal Assault, Learn. This is not their best album, but this is the one I've never talked about. Their best one is Trial. It's a hardcore masterpiece. This one, not so much. This one is on Positive Force Records. I think this is on black vinyl. This came on black and red. Yep, black. Does this have any inserts? No, no inserts. I think it had inserts. I think I've had multiple copies of this, and one of them had an insert. Did I say that Positive Force was Kevin Second's record label? They also put out, like, the first Youth of Today record. No? Did I say that? I don't know. My brain is fried. My brain doesn't work, people. My apologies. Weston got beat up. Despite this horrible cover. Not as bad as the Jones Very cover, but it's not. In some ways, it's definitely worse, actually. And the back is horrible, for God's sake. So this record is great. This record has to be canceled. It's track number 5. You can't say that anymore. It's a great song. I guess you can't play that song anymore, Weston, if you were still around. Their one guitar player got canceled for, I guess, just being an asshole. I guess that's a thing. Like, if you're mean to a woman, now you're a horrible human being. And your band has to go away. So, let that be a lesson to you. And we are getting down to the nitty-gritty. We are towards the end. And you know that you're at the end of the alphabet when you hit X. X-Men. Who are the X-Men, you may ask? And that's a great question, because who are the X-Men? This is a band from New Jersey. On By Our Records. By Our Records, I think, was the label that Adrenaline OD ran? Maybe? I think so. Interestingly enough, the vocalist of this band, Greg Gorey, is also the vocalist of Chronic Sick, the band with the really messed up lyrics. So there's that. That's weird, right? I don't know which one of these guys he is, because I don't know, reasons, I guess. This is the singer, so he's one of these guys. Maybe that guy with the glasses and the long hair. I don't know. It really can go any way. Well, I forgot to mention, the title is Cutest Band in Hardcore. clearly they meant that sarcastically, because this is a bunch of the most ugly motherfuckers you could ever find. And I think they knew that going in. Like, look at this frickin' guy. Why don't you see people that look like this anymore? You saw people that looked like this back in the 70s and 80s. They don't really exist anymore. Why is that? I was watching the movie Slapshot today, and I'm like, everyone in this movie is ugly. It's really fascinating. How is that possible? Is it that they're ugly, or is it that as time goes on, we view attractiveness differently? Like, was this guy, were these people cute back in 1981, whenever this came out? 1982? I don't think so. I mean, it has to be, like, the guy's got a fucking swastika on his head. Like, no one says that the cutest band in hardcore with a swastika on their head. But maybe. I don't know. They're from New Jersey. That's pretty sketchy. So, I don't even know what this band sounds like. I'm sure I listened to it one time. They're not as good as Chronic Sick. Chronic Sick was great, other than this guy.
2 very boring minutes later.
So from sketchy, non-positive lyrics to maybe the most positive lyrics ever written. Youth of today. We're not in this alone. On Caroline Records. Look at Porcel. Was he a vegetarian at this point? How was he getting his protein? This was a monumental record to me in my life. You know, this makes you want to like X up and go hang out with Ray Cappo and all these dweebs and be losers and not do drugs and not drink. And I've been doing that for my entire life at this point. I am a dweeb. I am set in stone as a dweeb. And our final letter of the alphabet for you Canadians or Europeans, Z. But that's stupid, so we don't say that here. We say Z, like normal human beings. The Zero Boys, Vicious Circle. Because, like, what else? What other punk band would you go with for Z? I don't even know. So many good songs on here. Amphetamine Addiction, Civilization is Dying, so good. Living in the 80s. Look, Drug-Free Youth, Youth of Today. Who were also drug-free youth? Come on. I hope you really appreciate the work I spent in taking threads from each record and intertwining them together to give you a nice list that is interesting. But you probably don't. Anyway, another thread, Panic Button. That was Ben Weasel's second label after Roadkill. And this was apparently also a part of Lookout. So that's awesome, right? I think this is still in, not this version, not the one on Panic Button. That label doesn't exist anymore. I think that this is available from Secretly Canadian, maybe? That's what Discogs is for. So that's the list. That is the ABCs of punk rock as I see it. And so if you want to watch more horrible content like this, there's going to be a video here. And then there'll be a video right here. And then there'll be a video over there. And then down here is a like. It looks like this. And that makes me happy. And then there's a this, and that makes me sad. And if you give me a this because Chronic Sick has bad lyrics, please don't do that. I didn't write them. I mean, I bought the record, but I didn't pay. I paid like $10 for it. People are paying $3,000 for it. So give them a thumbs down. And then you can subscribe if you want to see more of this garbage on a regular basis, or semi-regular basis, or irregular basis. I don't always regularly upload, because sometimes I'm lazy. A lot of times I'm lazy. But I did this, so yay for me. And yay for you if you enjoyed this. Have a good day.